So let's talk about the death cards ice case from Denver. I've heard some people trying to pretend like the death cards left in Colorado was some kind of edgy joke or misguided flourish or something. But when ICE officers allegedly slipped Ace of Spades cards into the cars, the abandoned cars of immigrants that they had just detained, that wasn't some kind of clever joke, okay? That was a deliberate revival of a symbol that has been used for decades by soldiers, by extremists, by YT supremacist groups to terrorize the people that they consider as disposable. Now, this wasn't some lapse in professionalism. It was a deliberate act of intimidation, and it was aimed at people who already live under the constant threat of state power. ICE is a pattern, and this fits it perfectly. ICE has long operated with a culture that tolerates cruelty as long as it's directed at the right targets. The agency's history is littered with stories of abusive raids, retaliatory detentions, and officers who treat fear as a tool rather than a failure. So when officers allegedly leave a symbol associated with death and racial terror in the vehicles of Latino immigrants, it doesn't feel like an aberration. It feels like the mask slipping. Reassigning the officers to desk duty doesn't change the underlying truth. In fact, it doesn't do anything. They didn't fire them, they didn't suspend them. They reassigned them to desk duty while they are supposedly under investigation. This is what happens when the people in charge of enforcing immigration law start to believe they're enforcing a hierarchy instead. And the Ace of Spades has always been a symbol of power over the vulnerable. The Ace of Spades became infamous in Vietnam, where US troops used it as a psychological weapon, leaving it on bodies, scattering it in villages, and marking their presence with a symbol meant to frighten. But the card didn't stay on the battlefield. It's been used at home as well. YT supremacist groups in the United States have used the Ace of Spades as a threat, a calling card, and a way to say without words, "We can reach you. We want you afraid." It's part of a long tradition of racist intimidation tactics. Quieter than a burning cross, maybe, but cut from the same cloth. So when ICE officers allegedly use the same symbol, the historical resonance is not subtle, it is not ambiguous, and it is not accidental. It is a message with a lineage. Racist groups in America, well, everywhere, but especially in America, there's a long history that they have always used symbols to mark their targets. And ICE should not be echoing this. The fact that they are is a demonstration of the type of people that have been recruited to ICE. The Ace of Spades has been used by racist groups because it carries a simple, brutal meaning: death, dominance, and the assertion of power over people who have been historically marginalized. When a federal agency echoes that symbolism, it crosses a line that should never be crossed by anyone wearing a badge. ICE officers are not supposed to behave like vigilantes, although that seems to be the entire point of them these days. They're not supposed to behave like extremists, although that's exactly what we see from them time and time again. And yet here we are. This isn't about a card, it's about a culture of violence and bigotry. The Denver case is not just about a handful of officers. It's about the environment that produced them, where cruelty is normalized, where intimidation is tolerated, and where people most affected have the least power to push back. And it is also the environment in which they are failing to be punished currently. But the instinct on display here is unmistakable. ICE officers allegedly used a symbol with a documented history of racist intimidation to mark the people they detained. This should horrify anybody who believes law enforcement should operate with integrity rather than menace. The Ace of Spades has always been a warning. In Colorado, it became a confession, a glimpse into the mindset of officers who saw their authority not as a responsibility, but as a weapon.